This is the Strat-O-Matic Baseball Excel 1970-73 Carryover League. Brought to you by the Shrimp Trawler YouTube channel.
Welcome back, baseball fans, to the Summer 70-73 Carryover League. We are in the divisional round of the playoffs. Getting near the end here. We have saw one team advance. Take a look at the tournament, or not tournament, the league schedule here. We're past the tournament. The divisional, White Sox and Red Sox played, and the White Sox prevailed 4-1. You'll see other results down here from last year. I'm just right on top of them. So that's why you're wondering if you're seeing other data that doesn't reflect something that just happened. But tonight we got a series between number 3 Houston, number 2 Cincinnati. The Mets and Cincinnati are the class of baseball, well, much better than everybody else by wins and losses. Houston had a terrible start, but is a hot baseball team. They had the worst record in baseball through early May, and then they've just ripped off a bazillion series wins in a row, getting past the Padres and the Giants, even leapfrogging the Dodgers to get the division. And here they sit with Joe Morgan and Jack Billingham and Dennis Menke on their team. So these teams will be making a trade in a few years. Interesting. It's another little side note. Houston and Cincinnati opening up in Cincinnati. Let's take a peek at what's been going on here, folks. Game 1. The Astros in the previous series had to go the maximum games, so Larry Dierker's unavailable. He pitched Game 5 in that series. He has to get some rest, so Houston's going to open up with Jack Billingham, someone the Reds will soon recognize. And it'll be Don Gullett for the Reds. And this game, I'll just give you the score. 5-0 Cincinnati. But the reason I gave you a score, because the game was not dramatic at all. Because with Don Gullett on the mound, his 71 card is the 6 column. He's got a homer on 6-4. That's his column. Houston didn't roll a 6 the entire game. Stuff like that happens, folks. It just happens. I don't care what your lineup is. I don't care what team this is. You could put the Tigers, the Orioles, Houston, the Dodgers. You're getting shut out. If you don't roll the pitcher's column, it ain't happening. And Don Gullett just sailed through this thing like Swiss cheese. It was ridiculous. And the Reds just needed a score, and they did. Tommy Helms, an RBI single, an error, unearned run off of Doug Rader, sac fly by Pete Rose after an error by the first baseman Goosen. And finally, a 2-run homer by Bernie Carbo. Bernie Carbo, he's kind of like the 5th Beatle on this Cincinnati Red team. He bats 6th. Probably, I think at one point I had him batting 1st or 2nd. Then when I decided on this lineup of Tolan, Rose, Perez, Bench, May, Carbo, it's carved into stone, folks. They don't do, the Reds just trot the same lineup out every day. The first 6 guys are the same against righties, a little different against lefties. They're not experimenting with lineups. 5-0, Cincinnati wins Game 1. Not a big deal. They're supposed to be a decent favorite in this series. Game number 2, it'll be Jim Merritt backstory. 120 games in 1970 for the Reds. And there was a little bit of scuttlebutt about why this particular Reds team did not protect him or add him to the roster. And basically they kind of hinted that anybody could have won 20 games for the 1970 Reds. Oh boy, folks. Jim Merritt didn't like hearing that at all. So, yeah. So Merritt was left off the Red roster as a 20-game winner. He is going up against Gary Nolan in this game in Cincinnati. And we have another low-scoring affair. Merritt gives up a couple singles in the second inning with 3 strikeouts. They get to Merritt in the 3rd. But he minimizes the damage, 4 singles around 3 outs, and it's 2-0. Merritt actually settles down. Reds reach base as per norm, but they don't score. 5th inning, the toy cannon and the Houston Astros finally find home plate. For the first time in the series, the Astros have scored a run. So it's 2-1. Stays that way into the 8th inning. Jim Merritt really had a nice game. I guess he put a lot of guys on. I shouldn't say it's that nice a game, but he was very fortunate to get through 7 innings relatively unscathed. In the 8th, he gives up a single to Ted Savage, a double to Concepcion, and they pull him for a right-hander. And here's our guy, Tommy Helms. He's the glue on this team. He's sort of like the Aparicio to the White Sox or the Bud Harrelson to the Mets. He's that middle infielder with great defense that helps your pitching staff out, who gets some big hits every once in a while. And 2-run double off a dejected Jim Merritt sitting in the dugout watching his inherited runner score. And the Houston offense never arrived in Cincinnati, folks. It never showed up. The Reds beat the Astros 4-1, 2 straight beating of the Astros, and the Reds are thinking, let's get rid of these guys as soon as we can. The series goes to Houston for Game 3. Finally, it's going to be Dick Bosman for the Reds and Larry Dierker finally for the Astros. Now, the story behind Dick Bosman was the Reds wanted to go out in the offseason and find a strong number 2 pitcher to pitch on 3 days rest, which they have not had. Hint, hint, Jim Merritt. They have not had that. And they looked over the American League and saw Dick Bosman on the Texas Rangers and the Oakland A's, and they said, that's the guy. That's the guy we want. And he's had a decent year. He hasn't had a great year, just a decent year in the 2 spot, which might be all you need for the Reds. Dierker has been the star of Houston and has won many games in a row. So in this one, the Astros get an early lead on an RBI double by Jim Wynn. But in the 3rd inning, Jimmy Stewart, the utility player of the Cincinnati Reds, in 1970, he hit 1 home run in 105 at-bats. And there it is, folks. He just did it there. It's 1-1. Tolan doubles, Rose singles. It's 2-1. Bottom of the inning, a sac fly by Bob Watson. It's 2-2. And you can see these Astros are putting up a fight. But still, not much offense. Into the 6th inning, Dave Concepcion, 210 off his card. Gone. Automatic. Where'd that power come from? But yeah, it's an automatic homer on 210 for Concepcion. And it's 3-2. And then inevitably, in the 7th inning, as if this has never happened before, Tony Perez and Johnny Bench hit back-to-back home runs. And it is now 5-2. In the 8th inning, the Reds get a single and error on Concepcion. And so Dick Bosman's pulled. They said, hey, you did what we wanted you to do. Pitch on 3 days rest, get through 6 or 7 innings. We got a bullpen. So Clay Carroll is brought in. Clay Carroll's ERA last year was 0. And this year, Clay Carroll's ERA is 0. That's right. Clay Carroll's not given up a run since 2020, folks, except in the postseason. In the postseason, Clay Carroll gave up a walk-off homer to Willie Mays and the San Francisco Giants in Game 6 of the divisional round a year ago to end Cincinnati's season. He does get the final out in the 8th, then in the 9th. He gets the first batter out, and then Bob Watson singles, then Jose Cruz singles. Then there's a ground out to Jim Wynn, 1 out away from going up 3-0. Johnny Edwards steps into the plate and hits a... actually, I got to back up for 1 second here. Jose Cruz hit that single was, excuse me, Tommy Helms got injured in this game in the 8th inning, and so Jim Stewart had to play second base as a 4-30. So that single by Jose Cruz was because Tommy Helms wasn't playing second base. Otherwise, that would have been an inning double play. That was one of the plot points here. So a huge break for Houston for it to be 2 men on and 1 out instead of losing the game being down 0-3. So after a Jim Wynn ground out, Johnny Edwards, off his card, 210 is a game-tying homer. 2-9 is a double. Scoring both runners, it's 5-4. And then with 2 outs, another left-handed batter, and Clay Carroll has plenty of trouble with those. Roger Metzger, of all people. They can't pinch run for Johnny Edwards. He's a 10 runner, and Goosen's an 8, and Duncan's a 9. That's how bad the running is. So Metzger swings away, gets a single to left field. Now, another interesting change. Bernie Carbo and his -3 arm started the game with a range of 3. But Ted Savage came in after the injury to Helms, and then also went into play left field with a range of 2, but a 0 arm. So that meant that with the Metzger single here, Edwards as a 10 runner, instead of being held at third against the cannon arm of Carbo, they take the shot knowing that their odds are stacked against them of getting 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th off of Clay Carroll. It's a 1-12 roll to tie the game, and unfortunately for the Houston Astros, Johnny Edwards rolls a 17 and is thrown out at the plate to end the game. Clay Carroll gets the save. He's a little shaky in the playoffs, folks. Regular season, untouchable. But last time we saw him in a playoff game, he walked off. And in this one, he was saved by Ted Savage's 0 arm, enticing Johnny Edwards to run the bases. The other aspect of this, if you're wondering, is that the next batter for Houston is Tommy McCraw, who hit 220. So they decided to take the 60% chance to tie the game at this particular moment. It just didn't work out for the Astros. They tried, folks. They tried. Finally, after the first 2 games, not so much, but here they tried to save their season. And unfortunately, we're looking at an 0-3 series. Not something I like to get involved with very much. They're not a lot of fun. Teams have come back from 0-3. Probably many more times than Strat-O-Matic versus traditional MLB. And that's exactly what Houston is facing. Come back 0-3 against the Cincinnati Reds. And that is your storyline tonight, folks. Game number 4 in the Astrodome. This is where you see all the stay focused signs. 1 game at a time. These signs start popping up in the stadium. It's like, yeah, don't remind them. Game 4. It'll be Ross Grimsley for the Cincinnati Reds, seldom used number 4 starter. Seldom used because the Reds have been blitzing their opponents and they don't go very long into series. But he gets to pitch today. And Ken Forsch, the number 4 starter, used to be in the bullpen, now is in the rotation. We saw him a few times on YouTube already this year with mixed results. Here he is going to pitch today to try and save the Astros season from the 8th wonder in the world, the Houston Astrodome. The Cincinnati Reds looking for a sweep against the hometown Astros. Let's get started. Bobby Tolan of the Bells. 67 is a K. Pete Rose, 45 is a walk. B Steeler, which is funny. Pete's a B Steeler, but he's never stolen with Tony Perez, Johnny Bench, and Lee May coming up. I don't know why you would. So here we go. Tony Perez, 2-2. Sky's a center. No, 2-2. I'm sorry. He's fly ball left A. Misread the column there. Fly ball left A means that Rose does get over to second base for Johnny Bench. 4-4 off of Forsch is a K. Bottom of 1. It's Cedeno now leading off. Was Morgan. 53 rolls to first. Here is Joe Morgan. 1-3 pops to first. And Bob Watson, 66. Double 1 to 15 is a base hit. And the toy cannon. 110 skies the center field. Top of 2, it's Lee May. 2-9 is a base hit. Bernie Carbo, 35 triple 1 to 3 double is a 2-base hit. Lee May will hold a third. It'll be Ted Savage. 6-10 is a walk off of the Forsch card. That's not what the Astros were hoping for. Bases are loaded for Concepcion. They're going to play back with nobody out. 2-6 is a pop to third. Now you have Tommy Helms. They're still going to play it back. 1-4 is a 1-6-3 double play. Great fielding gem by Ken Forsch, and the Astros get out of the mess. Load the bases with nobody out. Do not score. Concepcion and Helms fail finally for the Reds. Bottom of 2. It's Doug Rader. 58, lines of third. Jose Cruz, 110, base hit. Greg Goosen, 310 is a K. And with 2 outs, it's Dennis Menke, 54, fly ball to right field. Top of the third, Bobby Tolan, 46, bouncer to second base. This is Morgan, a 320 at second, makes the play. Pete Rose, 46, second X. Again he makes the play. And with 2 outs, Tony Perez, 43, pitcher X. Forsch is an E15, and he makes the play. Bottom of the third, Dave Dunkin' Donuts, 34, bounce to short. Cesar Cedeno, 2-6 is a base hit for the Double-A Steeler. He tried to steal a base once in this series against Johnny Bench. Oh, it didn't work. You're down 0-3. Okay, we'll do it. And he's going to be safe. And we do not get the bench T rating, which is a high one. It's 11. We didn't get it. Golden 18. So Cedeno, one of the first human beings on planet Earth to steal second off Johnny Bench. He's there with second with Joe Morgan at the plate. 52. Flies to right. And with 2 outs, big at-bat for Bob Watson. 56 off of Grimsley, pops to first. We are scoreless after 3. It'll be Johnny Bench leading off in the 4th. 6-11, short X. Menke is playing short, and with Metzger getting the day off, so his defense isn't as good. He's a 340, risking the defensive, the lesser defense, but he makes the play. Lee May, 310 is a walk. Bernie Carbo reached on a double earlier. 110 is a K. And with 2 outs, it's Ted Savage. 311 is a walk. 2 on. 2 outs for Dave Concepcion. 57 is a K. Ken Forsch trying to keep his team alive. Bottom of the 4th, Jim Wynn. 510, catcher's card. This is bench, of course, and it's a E, what is he? 1 - 4 E7 T111. Johnny Bench makes the play. Doug Rader, 4-4, center X. Bobby Tolan's a 2E9 in center field. Makes the catch. And with 2 outs, Jose Cruz, 2-3, lines the first, scoreless. In the Astrodome in the early 70s. I guess the Dome opened, I forget what year. They had an all-star game there. Wasn't there something about the lighting in the Dome being not bright enough or something like that, and that hurt the hitters? I thought I heard a story about that back in those times, that it was hard to see the ball or something like that. Anyway, 5th inning now. It'll be Tommy Helms leading off. 4-9 off of Forsch. Double to right field. And here we go, folks. Back to the top. And oh boy, Forsch. Tolan, Rose, Perez, Bench, May, Carvel. Oh boy. And you have a guy on second already. Bobby Tolan. 2-7. Let's take a look at the Tolan card. We might be looking at all the Reds cards this inning just to do it. 2-7 is the base hit to left field. Helms will not run out of this inning, as he is only a 12 runner anyway. You have to run on a 14. You don't have that. So you have runners in the corners, and Tolan has to be held. You can play it back as Rose is not an 8-bunter. And let's take a look at Pete Rose's card as he comes to the plate with runners in the corners, nobody out. We had a choice in the offseason between adding Pete Rose's 1973 card, where he was the MVP, or his 1970 card, and we just like the 70 card better. Outfield range is better, arms better, base stealing is better, base running's better, he has power, and he has more walks. And he would only be the third best player on this offense, behind Perez and Bench. Bench and Perez, I should say. So that's probably the reason why they gave him the MVP in 73, and of course he had no shot here in 70. So, with a runner being held at first and runners on the corners, here's the pitch to Pete. 1-5 is on cue. He heard my pregame ramble about the power. It is Homer 1-12. And ladies and gentlemen, that is your Pete Rose 3-run bomb of the day. 15 home runs in, my goodness, 732 at-bats. Plate appearances, excuse me. 732 plate appearances. My goodness. I mean, he never probably had a consecutive inning streak, I'm going to guess. And oh boy, television sets in Houston are suddenly switching channels. Tony Perez. Let's take a look at Tony. Yeah, so last year Johnny Bench won his second or third MVP in a row. This year, Perez outperformed Bench, but Perez didn't get the MVP either. It was given to Hank Aaron. So I think Tony Perez finished second and Johnny Bench finished like 5th or 6th in my voting. So here is Tony Perez. 310 is a fly to left. Let's keep looking at Reds. Johnny Bench, 1970 card. Yep, this is the card, the most scary card in Strat. 45 homers, 293 average, 35 doubles, 4 triples, 659 plate appearances for a catcher. My goodness. Pitch Johnny Bench. 56, skies the center. And with 2 outs, it's Lime. 5-10, bouncer to third. This is Raider, a 2E25, and he makes the play. So Ken Forsch battles back. Surrenders the 3-run bomb to Rose. Takes a deep breath, counts to 5, and gets through Perez, Bench, and May without any more damage. We'll go to the bottom of the 5th, but first let's pause a moment for station identification.
This is the Shrimp Trawler video channel.
Este es el canal de videos de camaroneros.
Okay. Bottom of the 5th, Ross Grimsley's a starter 6th. I don't think he can lose the game. I think if it gets close to that situation, he'll be gone. Because they got the entire bullpen completely rested. And of course, the Reds were known to have one of the better bullpens in this era. Pedro Borbon, Wayne Granger. They picked up this Jim Strickland guy off the Twins as a lefty setup guy in Clay Carroll. So Strickland historically was not there in Cincinnati. They probably had Tom Hall. And frankly, Tom Hall was probably better than Strickland, but you can't always get what you want on your roster because there's 32 teams in this league. So, bottom of the 5th, it'll be Greg Goosen to lead off. 49 off Grimsley, skies the center. Dennis Menke, 2-2, rolls to short. And Dave Duncan Donuts, 1-5, rolls to third. We have a 3-hit shutout being tossed by Ross Grimsley, who was with Baltimore and the Reds in the decade and the Expos. He was with the Reds in 71, 10-7 with a 3.58 ERA and 161 innings, and having the greatest moment of his career presently. 3-zip in the 6th. It'll be Bernie Carbo to lead it off. 2 7s a K. Ted Savage, 63, first C, and with 2 outs, Concepcion, 47 is a K. Ken Forsch battles back. You know, the Reds have really not run away with this series. They've gotten, 4 or 5 runs a game, but they haven't really crushed the Astros, and it's just a 3-0 game. Plenty of time left for the Astros to mount a rally against Grimsley and the bullpen. And to do that, they're going to need guys like Cesar Cedeno to contribute. The pitch to Cesar. 1-7, let's take a look at the Cesar Cedeno card of 1972. Best card in the early part of the 70s that he would have. Had some really stellar cards in the latter part of the decade as well. This one, 320, 22 homers, 39 doubles, 8 triples, in 615 plate appearances. The 1-3 E8 AA Steeler. The whole package, the 5-tool guy, as we like to say. 1-7's a double to center field. And now it's Joe Morgan. 1-5 rolls to second. So Daniel will go to third. They'll play it back. They'll give this run up with a 3-run lead, and it'll be Bob Watson. 2-7. Let's take a look at the Watson card of 1973. We really liked his versatility throughout the early portion of the decade. Catcher first and outfield, but he also has power and can walk and hit for average. Just didn't feel very well, so he's been playing DH most of this year. And 73 was the best year of the 4 years we play in this league this year. 2-7 is a single, and the Astros are on the board. And you know what, folks? With Win and Radar up, that is going to do it for Ross Grimsley. Like I said, I don't think he can lose today, and we're guaranteeing that is the case. 5 1/3 for Grimsley. Had only given up 3 hits before this inning, but gave up 2 hits to the first 3 batters and is a starter 6. So it's going to be Bourbon or Granger, and I'm a Granger guy with righties coming up. So it'll be Wayne Granger coming out of the Cincy bullpen. Granger, 72, at an ERA of 3 in 90 innings for the Twins, believe it or not, but was with the Reds in 69 and 70. But he moved on to Minnesota. We have that card, and the Reds decided to hold on to him. So Wayne Granger in the 6th. And the tie run will be Jim Wynn, the toy cannon. Watson at first, not being held, he's a D-stealer. Pitch to Jim, the toy cannon Wynn. 37 is ball 4. And now you got tying runs aboard for Doug Rader. Playing back, of course. And here's the pitch to Doug Rader. 5-10 off Granger is a walk off the Granger card. Not what you want your bullpen to do. Bases loaded with 1 out, and it's Jose Cruz. Let's take a look at this guy. Now, Jose was actually on the Cardinals in 71 at 274. Plenty of on base with walks. Only a C stealer would become a better base stealer. Great range and arm in the outfield. 15, great base runner. And with the bases loaded, even a walk here is an RBI. So they're going to play back for the B-bunter. And big at-bat here for Jose Cruz. Here's the pitch. 1-8, Jose Cruz delivers for the Astros. Triple, 1-4, single, ... It is a 2-run single. And now the guy on the hook is Mr. Granger for the L, as the game is tied with runners on the corners and 1 out. Now you're bringing the infield up. Greg Goosen can't hit righties very well. It's time to go to the bench. Oh gosh, Tom McGraw is really awful. Johnny Edwards. You know Johnny Edwards? Yeah, it'll be Johnny Edwards. So Johnny Edwards will be the batter. Let's take a look at John Edwards' card. Pretty nice card here. 268 and 330 at-bats. A lot of walks. Split favors against righties. The Reds only have 1 lefty in the pen, Jim Strickland, and they don't want to go to him this early. Plus, yeah. So this is Granger's deal here. Runners on the corners, 1 out. The infield will come up, and pinch hitting here is Johnny Edwards. 111 is a pop to first base. Tough break there. Edwards will go to DH. Watson can play first base. And with 2 outs and 2 on, it's Dennis Menke, future Cincinnati Red. Pitch to Dennis. 3-6 is ball 4. Bases are loaded, 2 outs, and it's Dave Dunkin' Donuts. Interesting moment here. Granger's better against righties than lefties, but if you try another lefty pinch hitter, we might see Strickland. So Dave Duncan has plenty of power. Let's take a look at the Dave Duncan card. Yeah, you don't pinch hit for this guy, folks. That's a homer 1-16 on 7. A walk gives him the lead and hits lefties, of course, better. So big moment here. Dave Dunkin' Donuts will bat with the bases loaded and 2 outs in the 6th. Here's the pitch. 69 off Granger is second C. And the inning will end, but the Astros bat around. Unfortunately, leave the bases loaded, but they do tie the game. And Metzger and McGraw have defense. They could come in somewhere if we wanted to. Only guy I would bring in would be Metzger. You're just going to leave it alone. They're going to leave the guys on the bench for future strategic moments. 3-3 in the 7th. Ken Forsch taken off the hook. He's a starter 7. He's got the last 6 batters out. Only had a little blip here in the 5th with a Rose 3-run bomb. So we're going to let him continue the game. Tommy Helms leading off in the 7th. 67 is a K. Bobby Tolan of the Bells. 58, this guy's a center. And with 2 outs, here he is, folks, the slugger, Pete Rose. 52 flies to left field. Momentum has swung in the Astrodome, and it's stretch time. Here in Houston, we have been enjoying Easter everywhere by the 13th floor elevators. This is a dual disc set. Everything in mono and in stereo for people with speaker situations like that. Okay. Fun stuff. Rocky Erickson and the 13th floor elevators. From Texas. In the late 60s, anyway. Bottom of the 7th. Wayne Granger is a relief 3, and now he's got to battle his way. He blew it in the 6th. Now he's got to show his mettle and keep this game going. It'll be Cedeno leading off. 112's a Lomax. Joe Morgan. 2-8 is a walk. Double-A Stealer. We haven't had anybody thrown out stealing yet. Johnny Bench. Oh, Joe Morgan against his future teammate, Johnny Bench. Gotta do it. Gotta try it. Just for fun here. Joe Morgan rolls a 10. This is close. Let's see here. 17, 16, 15. He's in there on a 10. He is safe. Another stolen base. 2 of them in one game off Johnny Bench by Joe Morgan. And in interviews, Pete Rose often said that Joe Morgan got all his steals late in games, not early in games, and that's true for his future teammate. So it'll be Bob Watson with a runner at second, 1 out. 4-2 pitcher, and with 2 outs, it's the toy cannon, Jim Wynn. 2-7 is a K. So they strand Morgan. We go to the 8th inning. Forsch can continue as he has retired 9 in a row. He's on a roll here. Be Tony Perez in the 8th, leading off. 66 is a bouncer to short. Now, Metzger is not playing short. We decided not to make that move yet. And so Menke's still there, but he's a 3-40. And he makes the play. Doesn't hurt the Astros. Johnny Bench having a quiet day. 2-8 until now, folks. 2-8. We saw the bench card earlier. It is Homer 1-12 double. It's a 2-base hit. Hits off the top of the Astrodome wall. Cavernous Astrodome here. Would have been a homer in Cincinnati. Or so, it seems. Runner at second with 1 out. And how long do you roll with Ken Forsch? Your bullpen is... it's a little bit better than okay. Eddie Watt's a good closer. And Jim Ray's a good setup guy. Both lefties are kind of meh. And there's really not much you can do against the Reds, really. I mean, you just have to cross your fingers and hope they roll line out max. Stuff like that. So, Forsch will continue and face Lee May. 69, and that was the mistake. It's a base hit in the center field. Bench. 12 runner, but you got Cedeno. So you have runners on the corners, and you have Bernie Carbo. Are really getting into the... yeah, you got to go get him out of there. So Forsch will leave. The runners on the corners are 1 out. He goes 7 1/3. And the reason you have to leave is that Bernie Carbo is up at the plate. Let's take a look at Bernie Carbo, folks. Yeah, I mean, seriously, he batts 6th on this team. With all those walks, you would normally think those walks should go to the top of the lineup. But Bobby Tolan and Pete Rose said, you know, we're not leaving the 1 and 2 spot. So, yeah, Carbo's got to bat 6th. Forsch will leave in a tie game with runners on the corners and 1 out. And, oh boy. Yeah. You want to get a lefty in there. But even doing that, you have the feeling that Carbo won't come out. You want to entice the Reds to go to a pinch hitter because Carbo hits righties better than lefties. But the sad state of this is that your bench is Jimmy Stewart, Ken Suarez, and John Vukovich. And, yeah, That's why they're called the bench. They don't play very much at all. And so the Reds don't take the bait. They are going to let Carbo hit against Ron Cook. Of the lefties, Ron Cook isn't as bad as Denny LeMaster, who gives up plenty of doubles on his card. So, worst case, maybe you end up walking Carbo with runners on the corners and one out. They're going to bring the infield up. Ron Cook to Bernie Carbo. And here's the pitch. 1-5 is ball four. Nothing you can do about that. Now you got the bases loaded for Ted Savage. Let's take a look at the Ted Savage card. You got Savage, Concepcion, and Helms. You have Jim Stewart on the bench, and I would dare the Reds to bring that guy in because he's not very good. So, another pitching change as the Astros attempt to save the season. They just want the righty who slams righties, and that's their closer, Eddie Watt. Let's take a look at Eddie. This was a fun little steal in the draft, as Eddie Watt, Baltimore's closer, and then he was with Cleveland. He was available, and the Astros pounced on him because they didn't have a closer. So Eddie Watt with Baltimore in 72 had a 2.15 ERA in 46 innings. And so he's a great find for this Astro team. And this is a huge moment, obviously, for him. In the 8th inning, Eddie Watt, with the bases loaded one out, they got to bring the infield up for Ted Savage, who, of course, has plenty of walks on his card. And so he will swing away. The pitch to Ted Savage. 1-11 is a hit by the pitch. Tough break for the Stros. A hit by the pitch on the Savage card. We've seen a lot of bases loaded walks and hit by pitches and walks with the bases loaded by teams that do very well at Strat. The White Sox, the Oakland A's, the Red Sox, the Mets, these Reds. Even the Astros are capable of doing stuff like this, and that just happened, folks. The Reds have taken a 4-3 lead with one out in the 8th and the bases still loaded. And now you got the infield up with Concepcion and Helms. We know they're not going to be pinch hit for. The pitch to Dave Concepcion. 55 with the infield up is second C, so we'll call it a 4-2 force out. Give them the play at the plate. So the bases are still loaded for Tommy Helms, who I mentioned earlier is that glue of the infield who comes through with big hits at the right time. The pitch to Tommy Helms. 5-10. We found a catcher's card, folks. We found one. Fortunately for the Stros, Edwards was never brought in to catch. He was brought in to DH as a 4 catcher. So we have Dave Duncan, who's a 3-7. And never has a team wanted a foul out before than these Houston Astros. And they get it on the 3 fielding catcher. Right there's your result. They get the foul out to save the run. That is a huge moment for the Houston Astros as their season's still alive. The inning is over. The Reds take a 4-3 lead. Clay Carroll is warming. Wayne Granger's gone an inning and 2/3. Doug Rader, and then back-to-back lefties. So you'll see Strickland, I'm guessing. So Granger will pitch to Doug Rader, leading off the bottom of the 8th. Actually, before that even happens, the Reds, as they are known to do, they have a defensive gem up their sleeve. John Vukovic is a 1/3 baseman, and he will come in and play third base for Tony Perez. And he'll come in, they're going to put him in Savage's spot instead of Carbo's spot. And the reason is, last game we saw the Reds, or the Astros, run off of Savage. We want Carbo's -3 arm to stay in the game this time, even though his range isn't as good as Savage. So, we got a third baseman now. Tony Perez will go to DH. And Doug Rader will lead off in the bottom of the 8th for the Astros. Here's the pitch. 1-6 is a K. And now you got Cruz and Edwards, and that'll be it. So, 2 full innings for Granger as the pitcher of record for the Reds. There's 5 outs to get to go to the League Championship Series. And then we'll bring Jim Strickland in. Let's take a look at this guy. He was a Twin in 71, hit a 1.45 ERA in 31 innings. And the Reds were definitely right-handed heavy in their bullpen with their Bravones and Grangers and Carrolls. So they were looking for a lefty, and they found this guy. Jim Strickland in the 8th inning will face Jose Cruz, who does very well against lefties. He had the big single in the 6th. And now the pitch to Jose Cruz. 1-9 is a base hit to center. He comes through again. Now I have Johnny Edwards, who is not very good at all against lefties. On your bench, you've got Metzger and McCraw. Tommy McCraw would be a clever Metzger. Frankly, whoever you pinch hit will not entice Clay Carroll to come into the game because they're going to be either a left-hander or a switch hitter. It's just a choice between Tom McCraw and Roger Metzger. McGraw has the homers. Metzger has barely a few more on bases. And Strickland gives up homers. I'm going with McCraw. I got to go for the potential win here. So here's Tom McCraw. And this is the guy in the pregame we talked was on the on-deck circle against Clay Carroll when the Astros decided to score from second on a base hit, and it didn't work out because they didn't think this guy could come through against Carroll. Now in this situation, he's in against a lefty. He has a less chance of getting on base, but he has a fairly decent chance of getting a home run. He's got homer 1-4 on 4 and 11 and 12. Plus Strickland has an automatic homer on his card. And the Reds are baited into leaving Strickland in there for this exact reason. So, Tommy McCraw will bat with Cruz on at first as a C-stealer, not going to steal. The pitch to Tom McCraw. 38, McCraw gets a walk. And Strickland. Some shoddy relief pitching in Strat-O-Matic recently, folks. It's been a rough time. Now you got Menke, Duncan, Cedeno, Morgan, Watson, Win Raider. Mostly all righties. And now, here's our boy. Do we go to him now for 5 outs after 4 outs in Game 3? Our boy Carroll? Or do we go Bourbon? Oh my goodness. We're going to go to Carroll. We have a story to tell, so it'll be Clay Carroll for all the drama. So Jim Strickland does nothing, gets nobody out. We have 1 out in the 7th inning, in the 8th inning, 2 men on base. Clay Carroll's being brought in the 8th inning, asked to get 5 outs. He's a relief 3. He can do it. Again, has not been scored on in the regular season since 2020. But the playoffs have been a different animal altogether. So the batter is going to be Dennis Menke. Let's take a look at Dennis's card. 304 hitter in 640 plate appearances for the Stros in 70. 13 homers. I mean, every position in the infield he can play decently. And a nice little player. You'd like to have a player like this in your team with all the versatility. Had been batting 2nd or 3rd through the whole series, but because he cooled off a bit, they dropped him down to 8th. He could make everybody forget about his struggles with a big hit here. So 1st and 2nd, 1 out. The pitch to Dennis Menke. 37 is ball 4, and Clay Carroll loads the bases with 1 out, and it's Dave Dunkin' Donuts. If you want, you do have that lefty. Metzger and A. Bunner with 1 out. You could even squeeze. Ooh, don't like to do that though. Duncan, we didn't pinch hit for him last time up. Oh my God. I gotta let Dave Duncan bat again. My goodness. The bases are loaded. All we need is a walk. So Duncan gets on as much as Metzger, and he's got the power to hit a grand slam. So Dave Duncan will bat against Clay Carroll, who has walks on 6-8 and 6-9, which would tie the game. So the pitch to Dave Duncan. 49 off of Carroll, the infield up. It is a fly ball right C. It is too shallow of a fly ball. Huge break for Carroll and the Reds. And with the bases loaded and 2 outs, folks, it is Cesar Cedeno, the lifeblood of the Houston Astros. Cedeno single, stole a base in the 3rd, had a double and scored in the 6th. biggest moment of a very young Cesar Cedeno's career is right here. Bases loaded, 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th inning, down 4-3 against Clay Carroll. The pitch to Cesar Cedeno. 3-11 is hit by the pitch, so both teams score in the 8th inning by getting plunked. It was Savage in the top. It is Cedeno in the bottom. And we got a 4-4 tie. And Cruz will score. The bases are loaded. Granger cannot win. And Cook cannot lose. Watt and Carroll, the closers, are pitchers of record. It'll be Joe Morgan. Let's take a look at Joe Morgan's 1970 card for the Astros. They can re-sign him 1 more year. The Reds are just going to just pummel the Astros with trade offers and postcards and saying, please trade us Joe Morgan. The Astros are going to say, go bark up a tree, because we're going to bring Morgan back to the Astros for 1971. You're going to have to wait 2 years before you get to see Joe Morgan in a red uniform. So, a chance to torment his future team with the bases loaded and 2 outs in a 4-4 tie. The pitch to Joe Morgan. 3-12 is a sky to center field. 4-4 thriller into the 9th. Carroll's a relief 3, Watt's a relief 2. Those guys will max out. Top of the red lineup. It'll be Bobby Tolan of the Bells. Any defense that need to be brought in? No, I don't think so. No, they don't need it. We have Metzger available to play short, but we don't need him to play short. And Watson, McCraw's playing first base. Watson goes back to designated hitter. So Goosen started the game at first. McCraw's currently there with Edwards out of the game. And Metzger available on the bench. So Bobby Tolan of the Bells will lead off in the 9th of a 4-4 thriller. 110, grounds a second. Pete Rose, 53, rolls to the pitcher, and with 2 outs, it's talking Tony Perez. 1-9, he comes through, double 1 to 7, it's a base hit. In with 2 outs in the 9th inning. Here's your battle. Eddie Watt, Johnny Bench. We have had Bench got a double in the 8th, missing a homer 1 to 12 chance. And so here we are in the 9th inning, the pitch to Johnny Bench. 2-6 misses the column and rolls to 3rd. We go to the bottom of the 9th. Carroll's a relief 3. If they were to lose this game, they'd still be up 3-1 in the standings, so they could give Carroll a day off and max out his innings here and have Bourbon attempt to close out a game 5 if necessary. So that's the plan. So Bob Watson will lead off in the bottom of the 9th against Clay Carroll. 1-2, Watson grounds to short. Would have been an injury, but he's DHing, so he's not going to get hurt. Jimmy Wynn, 2-5 is a walk. The batter is Doug Rader. Now, here's the guy you could pinch hit for against the... I could even hit and run or hit away with another lefty on deck. 3 straight potential lefties. Rader's going to be pinch hit for by the switch hitter Metzger on the bench. As the Astros are very versatile. That's a kind of a cool thing about the pinch hitting use in this game. They have a lot of flexibility. So Roger Metzger, let's take a look at him. He's going to pinch hit and be the first of 3 consecutive lefties against Clay Carroll, who's a weak against him. But he can also go to short, and the shortstop was Menke, who can go to 3rd, where Doug Rader was playing. So this is about versatility. So Roger Metzger, with the ace-stealing win, you could do a hit and run, or you could swing away against Clay Carroll here. You couldn't have hit and run with Rader. I think I want to do a hit and run, though. I think I'm going to do a hit and run with 1 out with Roger Metzger. The hit and run is the 2 is rolled, and it's the big play. It was the right call. Metzger delivers a single dot. Would have been a double dot, but he's actually a C hit and runner, not a B. So that is the big single on a hit and run with Jimmy Wynn on at first base. You got runners on the corners. The infield have to come up, and you got 2 lefties, Jose Cruz and Tom McCraw. This is what the Astros were hoping for. in a comeback bid, and you can't get any better than this with their lefties, Cruz and McCraw. So the infield up, here's the pitch to Jose Cruz. 1-2 is a ground ball, third B. Disaster. Gun down at the plate. Running on contact was Toy Cannon from third, and gets gunned down by the third baseman, John Vukovic, that one third baseman. So defensively, that would have been a great defensive play. So Metzger's on at second. Cruz is at first with 2 outs, and it's Tom McCraw who walked the last time up. The pitch to Tom McCraw. 1-5 is a grounder to second base, and somehow the Astros put 6 men on in the last 2 innings. They only scored once. And we have an extra inning game, 4-4 marathon, one of the longest non-inning games played in a long time. This thing's stretching on for a long-distance YouTube broadcast. We go to the 10th inning. Eddie Watt is already giving you inning and 2/3. I think you got to go all in with Eddie. Let him continue. It'll be Lee May leading off in the 10th. 2-8 is a base hit for Lee May, and now you got Bernie Carbo. Last time this situation happened, we went to the lefty, and Carbo walked. You got Carbo, Vukovic, Concepcion, and Helms. But Eddie Watt's Eddie Watt. You almost want to walk Carbo, which would move the runner from first to second for John Vukovic. Once you get past Carbo, Vukovic can't bunt, hit, or do anything, and he can't be pinch hit for. Actually, you could. You could pinch hit Jim Stewart for him. So he's going to pitch to Bernie Carbo, because the lefty is Denny LeMaster, and he's not very good against lefties. Unfortunately, he's better against righties. So it will be Bernie Carbo will bat with slow-footed Lee May. Actually, Lee May's a 12 runner at first base. The pitch to Bernie Carbo. 3-10 is a K. Watt gets him out. Now you got Vukovic. Now you're going nowhere at this point. Do you pull your third base defense that you just brought in? You may as well, because it doesn't going to matter anymore. The Astros came back and tied it. So, yeah, you got to go for the win or attempt to win here. So Vukovic is going to be pinch hit for. Boy, these teams are going to their bench. With Jim Stewart, let's take a look at Jim Stewart, a left-handed batter against Eddie Watt, who can play third base. We started with Perez at third. Actually, you could put Perez back at third, really. But they went the left-handed switch hitter, Jimmy Stewart, to bat against Eddie Watt with 1 out and a runner at first. The pitch to Jim Stewart. 2-10 is a sky to center field. And with 2 outs, it'll be Concepcion. By the way, at 2-10, if I do that again, it's a 2-run homer. The pitch to Dave Concepcion. 55 off of Watt is a roller to second C. So Eddie Watt has given you 2 2/3. He has 2 2/3 for relief 2. I'm going to call that the day for him, and hope the Astros can walk this thing off in the bottom of the 10th against Clay Carroll. And Clay Carroll, of relief 3, has given you inning and 2/3. So it'll be Dennis Menke leading off in the bottom of the 10th. Menke, 1-6, saw the card earlier. Triple 1-4, single the rest. He gets the triple! And this looks like a walk-off opportunity again for the Astros. They're making their hometown fans go crazy by not walking this thing off earlier than this. The struggling Clay Carroll, who almost blew game 3, is about to lose game 4 and continue his playoff disappointment. It'll be Dave Duncan. Nobody on the bench. They're all been used. Edwards was a pinch hitter, is out. Metzger's playing short. McCraw's playing first. So Duncan, the righty, Cedeno, the righty. You could walk Morgan and face Watson, the righty. So, infield up, it is Dave Duncan. 47 off Carroll is a strikeout. That's the first guy. Now you got Cedeno. RBI hit by pitch in the 8th and a run-scoring double in the 6th. Another big moment for Cedeno with the infield up. The pitch to Cesar Cedeno. 46 off of Carroll, and he gets the fly ball B. Fly ball left B off of Clay Carroll in the bottom of the 10th inning. And the Reds have to be disappointed. They could not figure out how to get out of this game with a 3-0 lead in the 5th. It was like pulling teeth, but the Astros, the Houston Astros, have won a baseball team. This is a very tough team, and you figure at some point they're going to, get some breaks after not getting any in the first 3 games. Took them 10 innings. They finally got past the Cincinnati Reds. 5-4 on a sac fly off the pitcher's card after a leadoff triple on a triple 1-4 off Menke's card. So a huge break for Houston. They get the win, and we can finally do the box. What a marathon game that was. Eddie Watt gets the win. Won't be available for Game 5, nor will Clay Carroll. Both teams will have to go without closers. Jim Ray, who was a closer last year for the Astros, will take that duty, and Pedro Rubon will take that duty for the Reds. So, Eddie Watt in 2 2/3, he faced, he gave up that bases loaded hit by pitch. So he gave up 2 hits, a walk, and a K, and got a win. Ron Cook gave up a walk, and that was all he did, and we took him out. And Force did everything else with a no decision. He gave up 7 hits and 4 runs, only 4 walks, and 7 strikeouts. Meanwhile, Clay Carroll came on in the 8th, and he got 7 outs with a sac fly being an out. 9 2/3. So he'll take the loss. He came on in and faced Menke here, walked him, got Duncan out, and then an RBI walk. So 2 walks in that inning, a 3rd walk, a hit and 3 walks, 2 hits, 3 walks, a run, and a K. Strickland faced Jose Cruz, gave up a single, and then they had the pinch hitter, so he just gave up a hit and a run. Wayne Granger went 2 innings, getting 2 outs in the 6th, facing Jimmy Wynn here. Yeah, he wasn't very good either, Granger. 2 hits, a walk. He gave up a hit, a run, 3 walks in that inning. Just really bad relief pitching, folks. From supposedly one of the better bullpens in Strat in the era. And we have seen just really bad relief pitching. And the Reds, the Reds just could not get it done there. Another walk and a K in the 7th. And then another K in the 8th. And everything else was Ross Grimsley, who got a no decision. Remember Ross Grimsley, like a long time ago, who started this game? Forgot he even was pitching today because there's been so much relief moves and pinch hitting moves. So he went 5 innings, and then all this is inherited crap scored against him. Only gave up 2 runs in that inning. Walked 1 and struck out 1. And there's your box. 1-00-10, 0-1-0, 9 2/3. 5-9-4-9. And the Reds walked 6 times, and the Astros walked 8 times. And that was pretty much the story of the game. Because the Reds put 15 men on, and the Astros put 17 men on. So that is the box for a Game 4. No sweep. And this could be a long night if the Astros get things cooking here. Like I said, coming back 0-3 is better in Strat-O-Matic than in traditional MLB. Earlier this year, the Florida Marlins came back 0-3 against Atlanta in the regular season, which ultimately really hurt Atlanta's playoff chances as they got knocked out in the 3rd round of the tournament. So that is Game 4. Astros are now 26-21 on the year, hitting .252 with a .348 ERA. By the way, Eddie Watt has 6 saves, 5 runs in 24 innings. So really a 187 ERA. He's really been an important member of this team who didn't really play for the Astros, but a great pickup. The Astro offense has been just kind of mediocre. And let's go to Cincinnati. They had won the first 3. They're still 26-11, hitting .282 with a .374 ERA. And now, Clay Carroll, oh boy, he's 1-1 with 10 saves. His ERA is still going to be good though. He's, let's see, Clay Carroll, let's see, 3 runs in 16 innings. That's a 168 ERA. So he held on to get a save in Game 3. He lost Game 4, and he needs to get another scoreless relief appearance for the Reds to go to the National League Championship Series. All right, we'll have the results of this divisional round at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. Thanks again, folks, for tuning in. This is a nice long broadcast with lots of strategy. Fun to play games like this every once in a while, but you don't want to do it too much. Thanks again. We'll see you next time. Okay, baseball fans, here's the box for the Game 4 you just saw. Long game. Astros win 5-4 in 10 innings. So where do we go from here? Game 5 in Houston is where we go. And can the Reds finally finish off these pesky Astros? It is Don Gullett and Jack Billingham matching up again on 3 days rest, and it's a low-scoring affair. In the bottom of the 2nd inning, Doug Rader with a solo home run. In the 5th inning, couple singles, RBI single by Bobby Tolan, it's 1-1. Stays that way into the bottom of the 7th inning. Don Gullett gives up 2 singles, leave him in there, gets up a 3rd single and breaks. They leave him in there anyway because, well, you saw what the Bull was in the previous game. But Gullett gets double play and a ground out, only 1 score. He gets pulled. Actually, he goes into the 8th to face, because Cruz is a lefty. He gets pulled, but it's only 2-1. It is this Red offense. It's done nothing, folks. You've been seeing this the whole time. They are not doing a darn thing. And Jack Billingham goes 8 1/3 innings. Combined, Jim Ray and Ron Cook finish off the Reds. The Astros, not on our field. They made a stand. They did it. Back-to-back one-run wins. 5-4 and 2-1, and the Reds are scratching their heads going, what do we have to do? And they almost lost Game 3. If it wasn't for a guy getting thrown out the plate in the bottom of the 9th, the Astros would have won 3 straight games here. So the Reds are in kind of a funk here after this Game 5. So they go home to Cincinnati after a day off and take a shower, sleep in their own beds, that kind of thing. And oh boy, it's going to be Larry Dierker against Dick Bosman, the import, the guy with all the questions about can Dick Bosman deliver a big game for the Cincinnati Reds. Early in this one, bottom of the 2nd inning, Dave Concepcion, another homer on 210 on his own card, a lot of power. But in the 3rd inning now, Dick Bosman loses control. A walk to Johnny Edwards, a single to Metzger, and a walk to Tommy McCraw. Bases loaded, nobody out. Yep. Bases loaded walk to Cedeno. Pitchers get up in the bullpen. Morgan, RBI single, but it's a single dot, so the bases are still loaded. Nobody out. 5 straight batters reach off a big game, or not so big game, Dick Bosman, who's been, again, pretty ordinary this year. Bob Watson rolls pitcher X, and guess what, folks? Dick Bosman's an E0 pitcher. So that's a 1-6-3 double play. Run scores, runner goes to 3rd. And a ground in the 3rd. So, after those 5 guys reach, he gets the double play and settles down. The Astros can only get 3 runs out of that. So, bottom of the 4th, it's Lee May. Finally heard from him. He hits a home run. It's 3-2. And the Reds still can't get, a crooked number inning going. And Larry Dierker is rolling, but so is Bosman. After the 5 guys reach, he gets the next 10 of 11 guys out. This game sails along pretty quickly. Through the 8th inning, Bosman had only given up 2 more hits and a walk, so the 3-run in the 3rd was it. Bottom of the 8th, It is 3-2. Durker gets Tommy Helms to fly to center field. Then he faces Jimmy Stewart. If you can remember all the way back to the pregame show, folks, I mentioned Jimmy Stewart hit a home run against in the Astros in games either 1 or 2, and only had 1 home run in 108 at-bats. Well, ladies and gentlemen, he now has 2 in much fewer than 108 at-bats. Jim Stewart, solo homer, breaks Larry Durker's heart in the middle of Riverfront Stadium, crushing Larry Durker to disappointment. It is now 3-3. Bobby Tolan, now the Reds are exhaling, knowing the game is tied, and we go back to the top, and now we start to get the hitters hitting. Bobby Tolan gets a double. Pete Rose gets a single. You got runners in the corners, and that is it. That breaks Durker. He's broken. He's got 3 guys get him in his breaking inning, so he's out of there. Eddie Watt comes in. You saw how good he was saving the bacon in Game 4. Tony Perez gets a sac fly off the Watt card, a fly ball B. Then he strikes out Johnny Bench. So not too bad, but it is a 1-run lead going into the 9th, and you're thinking, oh, bring Clay Carroll in? They were thinking about it, but they said, you know what? Let's have Bosman trot back out there again. Let's see what he can do. Puts a guy on, we'll hook him. So he gets no decision. But Dick Bosman delivers. Big moment. Cruz grounds to third. Menke grounds to second. Johnny Edwards flies to right to end the game. It is a complete game series victory, propelling the Cincinnati Reds into the National League Championship Series, courtesy of 1970 Dick Bosman, who pitched for the Washington Senators. So, going back to draft night, way back in March of this year, the decision to go after Dick Bosman has finally paid off big as he sends the Cincinnati Reds into the National League Championship Series. That big 3rd inning, a walk, single, walk, and single, and then Bosman was lights out for the next 9 innings. And he broke the heart of Larry Durker, who sadly, this is the first loss in a long time for him. And the miracle run of the Houston Astros is finally over. This is the first series they've lost since April. They were in the worst team in the baseball. They came all the way back to win the West. Won in the wild card round against a tough Atlanta team. And played as good, or pretty close to as good, against the Reds, at least in the last 4 games. But they didn't do enough in the first 2. The series is over in 6. The Reds win 4-2. But, whew, man, the Reds are breathing a sigh of relief. That was much too difficult. And when you look at the bracket here you have Cincinnati winning 4-2. They're 15 over 500. They have to wait for the result of Dodgers-Mets. If it is the Dodgers upsetting the Mets, then the Reds would host the National League Championship Series. If the Mets, the world champion a year ago, resume by knocking out the Dodgers like they did last year in the playoffs, the Mets, of course, number 1, would host the League Championship Series against the Cincinnati Reds, in which would be basically the World Series. If we get Mets-Reds, you're not going to get anything better than that. That's would easily, in my opinion, be the 2 best teams I've assembled in this carryover league. And I'm kind of crossing my fingers for Mets-Reds. I think that would be a classic. That's it tonight. Congratulations, Cincinnati Reds, for outlasting the Houston Astros in 6 games. Thanks for checking this stuff out, folks, and I'll see you next time.